Howdy all, Pipe Grump. Today I'm going to tell you, show you and explain to you my methods on tamping. Now you may say, well, why are you qualified to tell us how to tamper pipes? And the answer is, well, I don't feel that I am. But I was asked to do this. Somebody sent me a personal message and said, what are your tips for tamping? How should I be tamping a pipe? What's the proper way? I don't think there is a proper way. I think you do what works for you. Or I'm going to show you what works for me. Maybe you can take some of these, some of the methods that I do and try them out, and if they work for you, great. If not, try something else. When I first started smoking, I had no idea what I was doing. I went to a mall, and there was a tobacco store in the mall called the Briarleaf or something like that. And I went in there, and I said, sure, I'll buy a pipe. I bought a pipe. I had no intentions to buy a pipe. And I bought a 1 ounce bag of bulk tobacco called Burley Blend. And I took it back to the barracks and I went up on the roof and I lit it up and it went out, and I lit it up and it went out. And I smoked in this fashion for a while. I just thought that's the way it was. I had no uncle that taught me how to smoke, or no grandfather that smoked pipes. I had no YTPC. So I just kind of trudged along and found things that worked. I didn't even know what a tamper was until about 5 or 6 years ago. And I think that that teaching myself how to smoke a pipe just made it all that much more fun for me. Now, yes, there are times that it was just a pain in the ass. But even now, I'll come out here to the garage, and some days I light up just like that. And other days it takes 3 or 4 times of the pipe going out. It all depends on a lot of things. It depends on the moisture in the air, the moisture in the tobacco, how tight you've packed your pipe, how hard you press on the tamper. It's not a race. We're not in a competition to see who can smoke the longest. If you are, and you're just starting out, you probably shouldn't enter the competition. If you're sitting there with your buddies and they rag on you for not being able to light a pipe, hey, they're your buddies. They're going to rag on you even if you lit up the first time. That's what buddies do. If you're sitting there and there's an asshole ragging on you, well, just leave, because you don't need that in your life. So I'll start out, I guess I'll show you some of my tampers. Well, all of my tampers. I have 3. First off is this guy right here. It's a Rockwell. It's a keychain tamper, so it's got a loop for a keychain. Flat on the tamper end. It's got a bottle opener. And it's got a couple tools hidden in here. It's got like a scoop for scooping out the tobacco, and a pick, and a corkscrew looking thing. And I got this in a beginner's package. If you watched my video on the pipe, on my pipe collection, you would have seen that the pipe that I got with the collection, well, I also got this with it. My next tamper is a lighter. So it's a soft flame lighter, and then it's got some tools hidden in here. It's got a flat foot-like tamper. It's got a pick, and it's got a pipe knife. This is great when you don't want to carry a bunch of stuff with you. And the last tamper that I'm finding I'm using more and more is this Dagner golf tee tamper. It's the only tamper I have that's got like a convex type of end, or concave, I'm sorry, concave type of end. It's a little bit fat on the poker side, and I'll explain a little bit of how I use that in a little bit. But that's those are my tampers. So today I'm smoking my HIS estate pipe out of Italy. And I've got some dark prints. So when I first start, I haven't lit this guy yet. I'm going to try and light this as I'm going here. So my first light, I'll draw the flame in very lightly, and as you do this, as I do this, I don't want to say as you do this because I don't know you. I see the tobacco kind of lift, which I'm sure happens to most people. And so, of course, I tamp it back down. And on my first light, or charring light, or false light, whatever you want to call it, I will draw through the pipe as I tamp. I will do this until I get the pipe lit. Usually it's 2, maybe 3 times of lighting. I'll move the lighter around, of course, as I do it. The second time I light, because most of the time, as you're tamping your initial light, your char light, it will go out, even drawing through it. On my second light, I will pull a stronger drawing the flame down further into the bowl, and I'll tamp again. Now when I tamp, let's see if I can't show you, what I do is I kind of tilt it, and I go around the edge and I spin the tamper like this, trying to create like a crown of tobacco. So the rain has started. Hopefully it's not too loud. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and light, and I'll talk you through a little bit more. So now we smoke for a while. From now on, when I tamp, I will remove it from my mouth and not draw smoke through it. Because now that I'm lit, I'm starting to create ash in my pipe, and I don't usually clear my ash out. I just let it ride. If you clear yours out, that's fine. I don't know if there's any difference. But if I tamp on it now and draw, because I've created an ash bed, I could draw ash through the stem, and that's not always the nicest thing. So while I'm getting to my next tamping time, and as far as the cadence for tamping, it's just kind of, I don't know if I have one. Like, I don't wait a certain amount of time, or count to 300 in my head or anything like that. I tamp when I feel the need. Sometimes you can kind of, if the tobacco starts to die down some, tamping it will help. At least I find it as. But while I'm going through this pipe, I'll try to answer a couple other questions that I had, and then I'll come back. One question was, why do I put my fingers over the bowl? You usually see me do this when if it starts to go out. Sometimes you can save the pipe from completely going out and having to relight. Sometimes it's too far gone, you don't catch it soon enough. But you only have to do it when you start drawing and the smoke tastes thinner and you can feel that it's going out. I don't know the science behind it. I like to think that because you've restricted the airflow, the air that is getting through is going directly to the fire, to the cherry, and restoking it. I don't know. Like I said, if it's too far gone, though, it won't work. I will tell you a bit of advice I learned the hard way. Make sure that your tobacco is low enough that when you cover it with your fingers and start to pull air through, and that cherry lights up again and gets real hot, you don't burn your fingers real good. Because if your tobacco is right there on top, it can be a bad day. Another question I had, I mentioned on my live feed, that there are 4 topics that I won't talk about. And somebody asked me about the 3rd topic, why won't I talk about it? So let me rephrase the statement. There's a certain piece of literature out there that I absolutely enjoy. I love everything about it. I'm going to try my hardest not to bring it up in my videos, because my first 3 or 4 videos I mentioned that piece of literature. However, if someone else brings it up, I will gladly talk about it. If somebody asks a question about it, if I know the answer, I will chime in. If I see it being talked about in a other video or live feed, I will join in the conversation. And if somebody does a VR, like or a giveaway that requires a VR where you talk about it or talk about your favorite character in it, I will definitely do that type of thing. But I will not bring it up in my videos, or I will try not to. Can't promise anything. Did you see that? Did you see the smoke get thicker as I covered the bowl? It was a little thin. I could feel that it was trying to dial me. All right, so it's a little bit early, but I'll try and move on with the tamping. So now when I tamp, I remove it from my mouth, and I pretty much do the same thing. A little bit of an angle on my tamper, and I go around the outside edge. I almost never tamp straight down on the center. I always try to create a little bit of a rise, a little bit of a mound. And I'm not pushing. I'm not really trying to drive the tobacco down in there. I'm just almost letting just the weight of my fingers do the work for me. And because it's pretty much ash, it takes it right away and drops it right down in there. When you pack your pipe, usually some kind of air pocket is formed down here in the bottom, in the heel of the pipe, which helps with your draw hole, which is tiny. If you mash down on your wad of tobacco, you will close off, you will crush the air pocket and you will close off the draw hole, which is pretty small. You may find that when you're smoking a pipe, it draws real easy, and then you tamp, and it's really tough. It's like drinking a milkshake or something like that. This is the way most people try to describe it. I have found two ways that I use to clear that out. One of them, and this is earlier I'd mentioned that this is awful thick to be doing it, but one of them is to take the sharp end of your tamper and drive down into your tobacco and just kind of wiggle just a little bit, and that breaks it up. Problem with that is, at least for me, is I sometimes drive the ash down in there too, and the next time I take next time I draw, take a puff, I draw ash in. So another way I found is to use a pipe cleaner. And I'm going to try and break my rules here, and I'm going to try to mash this down and see if I can't get this on video. Alright, so I've mashed this down pretty good now. And it's definitely harder for me to draw through. Now I could continue smoking this and not do anything and just let it ride until it breaks itself up, but so what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to catch this on video. If you run a pipe cleaner down into your pipe, into the bowl, it will lift that tobacco up just slightly. And it will make it easier to smoke. So I'm going to try to catch that. I don't know if it's going to work. I don't have the best video capabilities. Don't know if it caught that. But my draw is much better now. If your pipe is constructed correctly, the draw hole should come directly in the center and in the bottom of your bowl. So when you push that pipe cleaner in, it will go under the tobacco and lift it up just the width of that pipe cleaner, and that's enough. That's perfectly fine. Now my draw is back to where I want it. It's nice and easy, nice and smooth. It's not tight or going to cause me to go lightheaded because I'm trying to draw real hard through the pipe. So that's my tips on tamping. Hopefully something can help you out. Like I said, I don't know if there's a perfect way to tamp or a proper way to tamp. It's whatever works for you. This is what works for me. This is what I've been doing now for quite a while. Try something out. If it works for you, let me know. I'm going to finish this pipe and enjoy the rain. Peace and pipe smoke.